Rob, we were just talking
Riley.
a second ago, so it's weird to like say hello again. But now that we are recording, I wonder if people, that might not know who you are, do you mind just introducing yourself, saying who you are, what you do, and we'll just kind of start there and then kind of backtrack and fill in the pieces, the gaps.
Sure. Yeah. It's always tricky to introduce myself, but I'll put it simply. My name's Rob, and I'm currently full-time product owner, and I'm also consultant for freelancers trying to position themselves in the market, which is a current practice of mine.
I it's amazing to hear how like succinct that message is. I know we spent a lot of time talking about that when you were in the program, and I think before you joined, you were maybe kind of dabbling in entrepreneurship, and then now I think you cracked your first five-figure month last I checked. Um, so it's kind of like the big picture, but I'd like to kind of zero in and sort of take people through kind of like one part at a time. So if we were to rewind and go back to before you joined the program, where were you at? What were you doing? Who was Rob then?
Yeah, it feels like so long ago, and it's fun to reflect on. When, like, before I joined the program, I was definitely someone that wanted entrepreneurship, but very much felt the imposter syndrome of being an entrepreneur when I listen to advice, I follow advice, I execute, and I have success, but not at a level where I felt proud of. I didn't feel like it was braggable, right? It was just grinding and kind of like didn't really know what happened. Um, but like I really wanted it. Like I was willing to work hard. I was willing to stay disciplined, but my steps were so scattered that it felt like if I continued to, I didn't know what to continue to do to make progress. That's where I felt like, and then there's a level of frustration and you start getting in your head. I don't know if anyone else has felt this, but you start getting in your head. You're like, maybe I don't have what it takes, even though you're spending all this time, and it just takes a little bit to realize, well, maybe you weren't doing the right things. Like you're putting the effort in, but you're scattered in your approach. That's how I would describe myself before I started this program. Drive, some skills, ambition, wanting to help people, but not super clear on steps.
It's funny hearing you say not braggable because I think even with results, you're just not the kind of person yeah, that would brag a lot. But what did that look like? If you don't mind sharing some real numbers or ballpark, like what was your revenue in entrepreneurship before joining the program?
Yeah. So I had a few, like I spent a lot of time on like social, on Twitter, right? Trying to build an audience and also like trying to figure things out by talking to people. Like that was the general approach I took. I had a few clients, and my biggest month was three, 400, $400 a month, right? I had two clients at 200 bucks a month and not super confident in my offer. Um,
Mhm.
so these kind of just came about through effort, through good relationships. But that was my best month was 400. And then, I had some of these small little projects, little digital projects. I probably made less than a grand in 2023 with a lot of effort, or between 1,000 and 1,500, something like that. But that's all over the course of a year, trying many different things, nothing consistent.
Yeah. So, and what's been your best month now, if we move forward, just
Yeah,
like entrepreneurship, the business?
best month recently is a $5,000 month while working full time. So
Yeah,
$5 in revenue. Yeah,
not something that's while working full time and your dad. I don't know if and husband, like you have a life outside of it.
yeah.
We talk a lot. I've talked a lot about that, but so that's a 12-ish X jump from yeah, in a month of revenue from then to now. But I'm curious, um, in terms of if we go back to then, the entrepreneur, I think is the term you use. Like what, but why were you starting a business in the first place? Like what was kind of the end goal for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, just like, why do we do things, right? Why do we make this effort when, I have a decent salary, decent job, and all that, right? And I think I'm trying to be as honest and also reflecting as I answer this, is that it's just wanting to be in control of the problems that you solve, and being able to create a vision and to execute on it is like, that's where fulfillment is. It's not like monetizing my passion, it's finding like purpose. You know what I mean? Finding a way to serve, finding a way to use all your gifts in a way that only you can, a way that you uniquely can. And that's what entrepreneurship allows. Versus, even if I do well at my corporate environment, which I've been able to do years and years, like you kind of move up and you get more impact, but you're still kind of in someone else's agenda. You still have to kind of get buy-in to different directions. And that can be frustrating. This world where you find problems to solve that you want to solve, like it's the ultimate freedom, and it's the ultimate challenge too. There's so much upside despite the challenge, despite the stress sometimes, through going through this. And I just had that, I feel like I had that understanding of just wanting that, like, to challenge myself again, and to find a way to serve others through this. And that's really what drove me, just having this energy and wanting to do something with it that was beneficial to more people than just myself.
Yeah, I mean, freedom is something that comes up a lot. And then hearing you say serve others, impact. I mean, that seems like that's kind of the heart of our community, the program that you were in. I'm curious, when you were in that place though, what was the most frustrating part for you before joining the program?
Not having a clarity on how to serve, right? There's this culmination of skills that I've been paid for, and they weren't super translatable. At least I didn't see them as translatable at the time to the free market, right? As a product owner, from the outside looking in, you can see skills, but it's hard to decipher that yourself. It's not like in a corporate world, it's like, we want you to do this, this, and this, and everything else is what we give you. In this, it's just like, good luck. No, there's no rule book. And to create value out of that it's a challenge. Even though some people make it seem super easy, it's a challenge. Like, going from zero to something is the big challenge. So that was my um yeah, that's what was really challenging at the time, was trying to find that value.
Yeah, translating. I can't tell you I can't remember the last time I've spoken to someone who didn't have a valuable skill, a monetizable skill. A lot of people have them. It's the translating it into something that the marketplace understands, like having that offer you talked about earlier. That's the like, it just, yeah, it can eat at you. It's frustrating for sure. So what made you, was that ultimately, I don't want to put words in your mouth, what ultimately made you decide to jump on a call and consider joining and ultimately join the program at that time?
Yeah, good question. I'm trying to reflect back. But the first thing is, you and I connected in a capacity that didn't feel like I'm trying to sell you. It was like, let's connect, right? And we did, and we had a great conversation. In that conversation, though, it's hard to explain, but I got a lot of um, you were able to build trust with me through that call. And it's not like you sold me, but you kind of just shared what you did a little bit. And the opportunity came later where you told me about your program. And it's like, I was interested in hearing you out. And when we were talking, it was just like kind of pulling at me. There was like this tension, like, okay, I'm not happy at the place I am right now. And there's some clear guidance. And I trusted you, and I trusted the framework that you had laid out for me. And that pulled me in. It felt a little bit uncomfortable at first to kind of make these decisions, but that, to me, that's a sign. It's like, if you don't change, nothing changes.
Yeah, changes. That's a whole other can of worms. So I'm gonna put that one aside. But funny that you bring that word up. So you decided to change. You were feeling the frustration. The offer seemed a little off. Your best month was like $400, and then you already said that now, while working full time, your best month has been $5,000. And you said you wanted to have more freedom, choice, impact to be able to serve. So when you were in the program and you were on that journey, what was most valuable for you during that time?
So as I had mentioned, like where I was, that entrepreneur type state, even though that wasn't true or whatever, that was perception. That was my own perception. Was having a lot of energy and having the energy in three, four, five, six, seven different places without knowing if it's going to pay off. That's where I was before. What changed and what the program really provided that I find really valuable is this road. It's a roadmap, right? It's a put your energy into these things, and it's going to lead to where you want to go. It tells you, it shows you where to go. You still got to put effort in, but at least you know you're in the right direction. And to me, that gives you like a motivation. It gives you a different type of energy. It's like, okay, you just got to trust because you know yourself and those in the program that are further ahead have been through it, have been through it. So you can trust that. You can trust that going through that is going to get you to where you want to go. So that was huge for me, just to have a plan. And just like a sidebar is when you don't have to think about strategy as much because it's laid out, like steps are laid out, you can just start moving without overthinking it. Because that happens, right? You overthink it, you're like, you see this model online, you see this success story online, and start like altering your direction. So being in that and committing to that was very valuable.
Yeah, it's funny. We've had this conversation before. I think if you like in our platform where we host the program, if you in the search bar type trust the process or like trust in the I think there's like 20 plus posts where that comes up. So just to like reiterate your point, like that's something other people felt for sure. I'm curious though, is there like a specific piece of content or like a specific breakthrough or aha or like key kind of takeaway? And you can even name it, like for anyone watching or listening to this, like what was it for you where you were like, man, this was a breakthrough moment?
Yeah, I had a couple. I mean, I did have a couple breakthrough. Like, there's all these different obstacles overcome, and those are breakthroughs. One, and this took a little bit for me, was just to really nail that niche, nail that ICP, and that came through conversations, it came through the work. But the thing that was like so valuable is the theme analysis. So I do research like it's part of my career, right? But the framework that you have simplifies it in a way where it's like, all right, what's the end goal of making these connections? Where am I actually heading? And that product, that piece in the course, the themes analysis, like it makes all that so much easier. So if we're talking about offer creation, we talk about messaging, the outcome of that product and that piece gives you like three or four different things that are long term beneficial for your business. So that thing, like I get excited about it. It makes me eager to do the work because I know the inputs to that give me the outputs that are super like it's a super valuable asset. So ICP and then research clarity, doing research in a way that is very effective and streamlined and efficient.
Yeah. Ideal client profile or ideal client avatar. People don't know the acronym. Um, and so, yeah, themes analysis, one of the resources we have. I think I can't remember exactly when it was, but you and I were talking when we were setting this up, and I was doing the math, and you had like 121% ROI on the program, and obviously that number can just go up moving forward as you get more clients. And but something I want to highlight here, because I think you see a lot of probably interviews, testimonials, reviews, things like this, and people sometimes it almost seems like they're like paid or sponsored content. They're like, oh, I'm traveling the world now with three dudes in Bali or whatever. And obviously, like you still live in the same house, you're still a dad, you're still a husband, you still actually even have a full-time job. So I'm I just I feel like that's actually a more realistic perspective that I wish more people could hear. And so I feel like this is a great opportunity to share that perspective of, you had these challenges and frustrations and this yearning in the beginning before joining the program. You went through this process, you highlighted some of There are many different breakthroughs there, but a couple pieces that you found really valuable. If we zoom forward to today, how much closer to that sort of vision do you feel like you are now, and like the
Yeah.
dream that you have,
Yeah.
and when just like how do you feel now? How does it
Yeah. Yeah.
being where you are? How do you feel?
Yeah. Great. I love it. I love that question because the whole goal to me, like, is what's fulfillment is making progress toward bigger and better goals and believing they're more and more possible. So the first step for me was like an investment in a program like this that is right, like it's big. It's like kind of like we're committing. That was the first change. That was me believing in myself a little bit more. That was me taking a step, going through it, getting these outcomes, things that you had said. I'll just speak personally because I don't know how other people think about these things, but you put a goal out there and you kind of like try to get delusional about it a little bit and say, yeah, it's possible, it's possible. And maybe you don't quite believe it yet. But doing something like this and getting these little pieces of evidence, right? Even in my situation, like that first client I got, wasn't as much as I'm charging now, but that was like a first piece of evidence. Like, okay, I can form a relationship from nothing, build a relationship, offer a product or a service, and have someone pay me money for that. That's a piece of evidence. I'm like, okay. And then we're talking about, all right, well, how can I make it more valuable? And then you make it more valuable. And to pull that off is another piece of evidence. Like, okay, I can really hone in into a market, understand what's more valuable, and create an offer around that. And it's just like it's more evidence, and that helps to expand a vision and like it changes the goal, right? Instead of just having some money on the side, it's like this kind of feels like a possible as like a primary thing, and I can switch gears, and that's viable to me now. So it's great. It's great for like optimism and to be able to see what you've done and know where that can take you now.
Yeah, the word that comes to mind is validating. Like when you say, yeah, there's a viable path, and we have a guarantee in the program, and one of the things we talk about is validating with actual sales. And so you've got like real numbers to look at. Obviously, credit to you. You put in all the work, you showed up. And I'm curious if you, like, from where you are now, looking back, like, I remember you were, as you were just talking about, kind of like thinking about it, maybe on the fence about should I commit to this or not. What advice would you give to yourself, or anyone else who's in the same position now, who's maybe like thinking about jumping on a strategy call with us, or who's been on a call and they're thinking about, should I join the program or not? What would you say to your former self or someone else in that position?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say there's no harm in ever jumping on a strategy call, especially with someone you trust. So I'll vouch for that first of all. But if you're something like if I'm speaking and anyone's listening, like, yeah, that kind of sounds like me. Like, know that I have skills, like I have professional aspirations, and I just want to do more and I want to see what's possible for me. Absolutely take the steps. Like when opportunities come up, like to me, those are universal signals. Things that feel uncomfortable, like making investments in yourself, taking time to talk to someone that's going to lead you down a path. Like whether you take these opportunities or not, like being open to new and different. Like if you're not where you want to be, and there's these opportunities come up, like follow those signals and see where it leads you. Because if you don't, like I'll say it again, like if you don't change, then nothing changes. You keep doing the same thing, a year is gonna pass. If you haven't made any changes and you weren't honest with yourself, then you're gonna end up in the same place. Like half the thing is honest and saying, hey, I've tried, I'm not making the progress I want to make. There's an opportunity here, and that's how I'd look at it and assess it. It's just be open and honest.
I'm smiling because I'm already anticipating your answer to this question, because knowing how just, organized you are, committed you've been. If someone said, "Hey, Rob, that all sounds great, but I don't have time," what would you say to someone in that position, given your experience and your perspective and everything you have on your plate?
Yeah, look, I get overwhelmed. I have clients that I serve. I have a toddler, I have a family, and the time is like it's valid. I don't have time. But here's the thing is when you when you want something, when you invest in something like this, right? Or you have a program, the time is well, like you're making the time for what's important, right? Um, it becomes a priority. What you want is clarity. If you're let's just go my situation where you were an entrepreneur, you want something more valuable, you really want to find like a primary path for yourself. The only way to get more time is to make time for these things that are important. That's how I see it. It's a matter of prioritizing. So it's again, if you're doing a bunch of actions that aren't leading to results, it's okay to trade those in for spending time on something that is going to lead you somewhere or lead you to where you want to go.
Maybe aside from our mindset coach, who's in the program right now, or is the mindset coach for the program right now, John, who seems to have like 7 different jobs at any given moment.
Yeah, yeah.
Aside from him, I don't think I've ever met someone who has a more tightly packed and you're someone who's as much of a stickler for having the schedule as you are, and the fact that you've built this business essentially from scratch to 5K plus per month in the time frame that you did, with the amount of, I mean, other responsibilities and priorities. And it's just, again, like, just to reiterate what you're saying, like you prioritized it, and it's really we all have the same amount of time. It's just making time for what's actually important to you and being honest with yourself about it. So appreciate that. I yeah, I'm like just feeling like the pride. I'm so proud of you and all the work that you put in. So I'm just really happy for you. But to not, go down that rabbit hole and save people who are watching the time, in terms of kind of what's next, as kind of wrap up, like what do you think your next steps are now in this position? And maybe, business wise, are there any any changes you see coming, or any new revenue goals? What are you looking at next?
Yeah. So it's um it's tempting to go say, let's go hit these new numbers and I have the skills to be able to do it. But I have trust with some clients that have invested in me, and my number one goal is just to serve them at the highest level. And I'm okay with completely focusing on that to get results over the next client because I'm thinking long term, right? So what my goal is to do a great job servicing here. And you look at things and you look at really trying to help someone to their goals, and you'll see that there are parts of it that are very valuable and parts that are less valuable and time consuming. And like longer term, it's like understanding what those pieces are to be more efficient with those that I work with. So, summarize, really serve my clients well, and think about how to scale it because I'm thinking about my future as well. It's like I don't really want 2 jobs. I have 2 jobs right now. I want one thing I can just excel at and be resourceful, invest my resources in to be excellent at.
I appreciate that answer, because again, some of what you hear people talk about in these kinds of calls or recordings, um, yeah, I've never met anyone that doesn't want to make money or make more money, but it's at what expense. And I love that you're talking about kind of perfecting your craft, honing your craft, and just really your service to your clients. So I just think you completely embody, like, what we're about, what we're trying to do, not just, scale for the sake of scaling, but it's intentional. And that intentionality, I think that, you have it in spades. So um, I don't want to take any more of your time, Rob. I think like you have an incredible story and commitment. I'm kind of wondering though, just as we close, are there any, maybe 2 final thoughts? One, I would ask if, again, someone's watching this on the fence, is there any final parting, wisdom or advice that you would give to someone who might be watching this right now, that can relate to any part of your story? If you go back to, Rob a year ago, let's say, what would you
Yeah.
tell that person?
Yeah. I would I would just say like we live in this world where everyone's being flashy and showing their success online. And if you really want to make change, be very honest with yourself. As in, be honest with what it is that you want and declare it. Make the statement. This is what I want. Be honest with yourself there. And then also what it is that needs to change to get you there. Because if you can do that, if you can surface your own obstacles, you can find people or solutions to help you. So if you can do that, put your ego aside and be willing to admit, yeah, I could use some help in this area. Like that's how you find the help. That's how you get the answers, and that's how you ultimately make progress. So I would just share that because we're kind of like conditioned to show our best selves and to say, oh, I'm so good at business. Like
Yeah.
put that aside. If you really want to grow, be humble enough to say, yeah, you know what? Sales is not my strong suit, or I have a great product, but I just don't know how to connect with people. So that's what my advice is for anyone that has a big goal. Pull up your flaws and tackle them because that's how you grow.
Yeah, we're big on connection over here. And speaking of, can you restate your niche again for people listening? Who you
Yeah.
help?
Yeah. So I help freelancers to position themselves in the market to get higher prices, to retain clients, and really to create better offers for themselves.
And at this moment, any particular kind of freelancers you typically are working with?
Typically designers, but also in conversations with developers, consultants as well, but really design and development is really where I play.
That, yeah, UX, UI, world design. Yeah,
Yep.
got it.
Yep.
So if one of them happened to stumble into this video and they were listening and they wanted to get in touch with you, is there a place they could go check you out somewhere online?
Yeah. I will have a website very soon, but for now, I'm at Rob Ran 6116. That's my Twitter handle. ROBRAN 6116 on Twitter.
Twitter, or formerly known Twitter, now known as X,
X.
or the
Right.
slash X, whatever it's called. Yeah, awesome. Well, really appreciate you taking the time, sharing your story, being open and honest, and imparting some of your wisdom for us and for others watching or listening. So thanks for your time, Rob. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it and I appreciate it.